Welcome to Triple M NRL Daily on your Wednesday, which means it is the Journos edition, and we've got a very special guest joining us today. It's Charlie White here. Danny Widley, you're here as always.
Good morning, Charlie. There's no time in podcast, is there? Is there time in podcast land?
Who cares? It is morning.
Yeah, okay. It's 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I like to say what the time is in case stuff happens that we haven't covered it.
Yeah.
Between
That's a little
by the
caveat.
time the pod goes to air.
Yeah. At time of recording, Shane
Correct.
Flanagan still has a job.
He does. Yes,
Yeah.
he does.
But the special guest we've got is the one and only Brent Reid, who's doubled up, done the Tuesday and the Wednesday this week. How are you, Reedy?
Special, I don't know about that. Just a guest. Just a guest. I know how special I am.
How,
Yeah.
Reedy,
What an
how young are you looking?
What do you reckon? Why? Because of the cap?
I
It's
don't know.
Masters week, Danny. You've been to the Masters.
I have,
I've
but
been to the Masters.
I'm more interested. Like, have you been doing something?
Hold on. Where is this coming from?
No,
This
you look
this
fresh.
is spreading like, wow,
What's the
As
secret?
I said yesterday, Danny, the secret is
Is
salt,
that a Craig Bellamy? As I
it's
say,
salt water. As I said.
as I said,
It's
as I
salt
say.
water, Dan. Salt water's the
How
cure
often
for
you're in the
everything.
salt water?
Every day I go for a swim.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'll
Every
go in a
day.
fair bit.
Went in this
It's not
morning
working on me.
6:30. I was in there this morning down
Really?
in Manly. Yeah.
Run before,
Did a bit of training beforehand. Yeah,
mate. It is a fiddle.
with a dodgy hammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the same little run around Bondi and a swim this
Well,
morning.
yeah.
It was
What
great.
day are you at? What number?
For 75 hard, I've got
Yeah.
a week to go on Friday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're going to cut
That's an
loose, eh?
achievement.
That's good achievement.
But
Yeah.
Charlie, you look good before.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thanks. I needed that.
You're a
Needed that
TV
today.
star now, too. It's important you keep your look.
Yeah.
It's not about. It's more internally than externally, though. I might have looked okay externally, but internally,
I was in turmoil.
terrible.
Well, you've been drinking since you're 14. I keep hearing on radio.
Yeah. This is the longest since I was 14 that I haven't drunk. So.
Listen, you're going to cut loose.
I don't think so. I don't know.
We should
Anzac-
take him out, shouldn't we?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm the wrong person to take anyway.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
so boring.
I'll take him out.
Yeah,
you can
we'll
come
do that.
along.
I'll
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, that sounds good, mate.
Okay.
Sounds good. Let's talk the Dragons, though. Shane Flanagan does still have a job, as I said before, but the walls are closing in, boys, aren't they?
Yeah. Look, it just feels inevitable. Like, I think the Seabowl situation largely felt inevitable. This feels like something's going to happen. I feel like it's coaching one game at a time. He's got a one week at a time contract. That's how it feels. There's assurances from everybody who are backing him at the club. They're saying that, they're seeing how things go. But the Cariana story where he said that, contracts are frozen and all that sort of stuff, that doesn't look good for Shane Flanagan. And I think that Flanagan knows. I don't know if you've talked to him, Reedy. He knows that.
Not sure we're on talking terms at the
Okay.
moment, Dan.
Oh, well, I'm like that with a lot of people. But, but I know that I do know that he accepts his where he's at. And, at the start of it all, I was a bit critical of the appointment and people hammered me saying I was a Dragons hater, whatever. I've got nothing against Shane Flanagan. And the way it was explained to me at that time was that Flanagan was the best available person for the job. And, looking back on it, he probably was the best person for it. It hasn't worked out. I don't know if it hasn't worked out because of his coaching ability. I think it's more to do with the mess that the roster is and the desire for a quick fix via, signing older players who clubs, not all of them were desperate to keep. And I think they've got the roster badly wrong. And, there's always a conversation around Kyle Flanagan, which, we've been over 100,000 times, and I don't like bringing it up heavily, but that's definitely a part of it all. I guess it's more the feeling that generates for other halves potentially coming to the club. So, yeah, and it's all closing in on him. And I think for me, it's largely to do with the way that they've assembled the roster.
I'm with Danny. I think it feels like at the moment it's a matter of when, not if, the trigger's pulled. I mean, if I'm them, obviously they go out on Friday night and they get pumped by Manly. You can understand if they did it over the weekend. I think the smarter move is to wait till the bye. They go South
Yeah.
Dragons,
Yep.
finish that out because look,
Roosters, yeah.
South Roosters,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah.
the way they're going, they're not going to win. They're not going to win all three of them. They probably won't win two of them. They might win one. You're still 1-7 then, and you can still pull the trigger on the coach and do it with good reason. So I think that's the and that gives the incoming interim 2 weeks to get ready for the next game. I think that's the more logical way to go. But I think if they go out on Friday night and they get pumped by Manly, it's almost like the decision's taken out of their hands.
Yeah.
Because we saw the reaction at Cogra on Saturday. The reaction at Wynn's going to be just as bad on Friday night if they get pumped again. And at that point, I think the fans will leave you with no choice. So look, I thought he was the right coach at the right time when they got him, right?
He was the best available.
Yeah, he was the best. And I still think Flano's got a really good coach. At the right club, he's going to be a really good coach. And I'm sure down the track, there's every chance he gets another opportunity. But it hasn't worked out here. You look at his record now, it's akin to Anthony Griffin's when Anthony Griffin got sacked.
Yeah.
You know, that's how bad they've been. They've won 30-odd% of their games. So, and they've lost 8 in a row or 9 in a row, stretching back to last year. So
well, it's been a rolling disaster, hasn't it?
It has
the
been,
Dragons
yeah.
have been a rolling disaster for years, and
Yeah.
that fan group, they're passionate, whatever. I mean, remember it goes all the way back to oust, douse, down with Brown. See you later, Mary. Griffin, like the Griffin appointment, I never understood that one. I just didn't understand that at all. I could understand the Flanagan one, but it goes back, and for a long time they didn't have a proper recruitment person.
no.
And that how can a professional club or a club that wants to be considered professional not have someone doing that job? Which, Reedy, you deal in that space constantly, and you know how important. I mean, you would have known more about recruitment than the Dragons at times because they didn't have the right person or a person doing the job. And
Well, you look, Danny, at what Newcastle are doing right now. They got Peter O'Sullivan in, right?
who's considered to be
Arguably the best in the business,
Yeah.
right? And look how people criticised him for going and getting Dylan Brown. I know Dylan Brown hasn't played a lot of footy this year. The best decision they probably made was the coach. But you look at what they've done at Newcastle, guys like Trey Mooney, went and got guys on value for money who can contribute, help that side, make it better. And I think, that you're right. They've now got Daniel Anderson, the Dragons, but for a long time that was a void that was there. And I think Flano did a lot of the recruiting, right? So when people say, it's not his fault, look at the players.
that's where
Flano was deeply involved.
that's
in
where
that,
he has
so-
to wear it.
yeah.
I think more on. I don't think we can. Well, I mean, I'm not in a position to question his coaching ability because I've never been coached by him, and I've seen him win a premiership up close, and I thought he did a terrific job years ago with Cronulla. So I'm not going to. I can't question his coaching ability, but I can question, and I think a lot of people can question recruitment, and that's what it comes down to with Dragons. And when you trying to fix that, it is so hard. I mean, you look at, I've got a close association with Gus, and the way he's had to overturn an entire roster. Like, I don't know if they're
Keeps playing with it too, Dan.
Yeah. Well, no, Cameron might be doing that, but the whole roster had to be turned over, and it's hard to do that. It takes a pretty shrewd and ruthless operator to be able to regenerate 30-odd players. And if you look at the Dragons roster, they're going to have to do something similar.
They've got to wear pain, right? They're going to
got
have
to
to wear
start
pain,
but
which
they've been wearing
hurts.
pain for years.
I know, but they're going to have to continue wearing it. That's the problem. They're in a hole, and the hole gets deeper.
But you know why the hole's getting like deeper and deeper is that we've got clubs coming in. We've got the Bears trying to get they're trying to get players. We've got Chief Chammy trying to he'll be undermining everybody to try and get the best players as well. So do they have to just start from within and just trust the kids and go with a real local flavour and bring through as many of these so-called good young guys that they've got, because they should have a good pathway of players coming through.
They've got good young kids coming through.
Well, do they have to trust them?
But my problem with that, Danny, is you're bringing young kids into a team that's losing, and it's a culture right now of losing.
Yep.
And when you bring young kids into that environment, it can have terminal effects on their career. It can damage them for years to come. So that's why I believe he made the right decision this week, putting Kyle at 7 and Atkinson at 6. I don't think you can play Cade Reid in that side right now the way it's going. I think it could do irreparable damage to his career. Look, he might have come out of it, been a superstar and killed it. But the more likely scenario was he would have had Hamoli or Benny Trebojevic run at him all night.
Yeah. Awful.
And he would have had a really tough game. They might have got beaten, and then you damage him for not just weeks to come, maybe years to come.
But they had the bye last week, the Dragons, and they could have put Cade Reid on the bench and played him 20 minutes off the bench in that game against the Cowboys. You can do things like that if you want to get him more experience.
But they obviously don't think it's a bit like Joey Walsh.
He's not going to ruin his career in 20 minutes off the bench.
Well, it might do. What if he comes on and gets carved up for 20 minutes?
Well, they were getting carved up anyway, so it's not like...
But do you want to put a 19-year-old kid or whatever he is into that environment?
King Tongi is 20. And he got him in that environment.
He's played some first grade.
I know, but
and look what it's done to him. Look what it's done to him.
Yeah,
like at one point, people thought he was going to be a really good footballer. You look at him right now, he is in a hole, that kid.
But like someone like Luke Keary talks about it, and when he came into first grade, he played most like the first 15 games off the bench, playing 20 minutes off the bench for South.
But that side, look at that side.
Yeah,
that's Sam Burgess, Greg Inglis.
But Luke Keary's of a similar
Adam
body
Reynolds.
build. Like, surely if you could give him 20 minutes in a game like that, they've got the bye anyway. So it's not like he needs to save him for New South Wales Cup and get Miles under him. He could just play him 20 minutes.
Well, you know what I think's a really fascinating story this week is that Kyle Flanagan's been brought back into this side pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I thought he would have had another week off without the head knock, because of the head knock, and apparently he's fine. Like, I've checked this out. He's fine. He's performing well at training. He's passed everything. He's performing better than any other player at training. The fact that Kyle Flanagan comes in with his father's job on the line, his son has got to save the father's job. I find that an incredible story.
Yeah.
And Kyle's under his own pressure, but now his dad's future. It's not too big a thing to say it depends on this game.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
And Kyle's got to take charge of a team and try and guide them to victory against a team that's just beaten somebody by 50 points or whatever it was a week before, who Manly have had their struggles, obviously. So it's not, it's not, they're not over the line, Manly, but this is where we're going to actually see a response to see if the players back the Flanagan coaching. Where it's just out there for everybody to watch. This is a pure response game now. That was an awful performance, like as bad as you could see. I think Shane Flanagan wouldn't have had a worse performance by a team in his whole career. And now they've got to have Kyle Flanagan leading a team to try and save his dad's career. That's a great storyline for people like us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be playing in that
It really
game.
is a story. Like, this story is, when this story is ultimately told, it's not just about Shane.
No,
is it?
it's
Kyle's
intertwined.
He's an integral part of this story, right? As he has been for the whole time the two of them have been there together. And ultimately, if Shane goes at some point in the next couple of weeks, we'll write stories about why it happened, and it will involve.
You can't avoid
Kyle.
it, and I don't like involving Kyle about it. I don't like the idea of it, but unfortunately, it's part of it. And you ask anybody in the game, everybody in the game, and it's part of it. And I don't like involving because he's a solid player, Kyle. He's a really nice young kid, but he unfortunately gets wrapped up in a larger storyline of a father and son, and a club that has gone backwards pretty rapidly this year. I mean, I thought they showed some okay signs, but that performance against the Cows, was horrible.
What have you boys made of all the players that they've paused negotiations with? Now, a lot of these players it makes sense with, but a guy like Damien Cook who was promised a deal, what did you make of that, Danny?
Feel a bit for Cookie. World's nicest bloke, and he becomes the face of the freeze, doesn't he?
Yeah. Reedy doesn't have him as a legend of the game as well, Damien Cook.
Oh, don't you?
No.
Charlie said he's a rugby
You're not
legend.
shooting another Bambi. Didn't you have a go?
No, I think he's a great
poor old Jake Trebojevic, weren't you into him as well?
No, I think
Some of the nicest guys in the game.
No, Jake and I are back. We're all right.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Can
you get back with Cookie
I
too?
think Cookie's I'm not saying he's not a great player,
but not a legend.
I think
of
the word
game.
legend gets thrown around a bit haphazardly by Charlie.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he's a legend. That's all I'm saying. I consider Cameron Smith, Billy Slater,
okay,
John,
I'll take that.
They're legends.
Well, they're immortals, aren't
He's
they?
Billy isn't.
Yeah.
GI, they're legends. I don't think Cookie's he's been a great player
he's been
for a long time. I call him a great.
He's a great of his era, definitely, because he's played for his country.
He's very loose with the legendary term. I think he calls us legends.
No, and he calls himself a legend.
Yeah, you're both legends of the game.
Now we know it means nothing.
No, exactly.
Absolutely zero.
Got that, Cookie.
Yeah, look, I think
you're in sync with us.
I think clubs would take him though if they muck around with Cookie. Like, why wouldn't Manly have a crack at him?
Mate, I think Manly's the logical spot for him.
Yeah, like Manly need a number 9. Although they might have a look at Connor Watson. I don't know if he'd be in that position for them, but they do. And look, there are a lot of those players aren't going to be snapped up, are they?
No. There's not a lot of demand for. Sloane's been available for God knows how long, and no one's taken him.
Anyone could have a crack at him.
Blake Laurie's been available forever and a day.
Well, they've been trying to shop him.
Yeah. So there's blokes there who clubs have been able to take.
What
for
about
ages.
Sewer? What does it do for is he frozen too?
He's got a player option in his favour.
So does that mean that's frozen? Like,
No, they can't freeze that. That's
so he
his
can
option.
say, I can take it up.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Jaden Sewer. I can't work this one out.
Is he jumping at it?
Well, clearly not, Danny, because he hasn't taken it up. He's got to around 10, and I think they've talked to him about an extension, but I don't think it's taken the form of a concrete offer. I don't believe so. He's a player I'd want to keep if I'm the Dragons.
He's been all right for them. And
He's been
Luciano Leilua, he's
been pretty good, eh?
I think he's been good this year. He's dropped 20 kilos. He looks great.
That's great.
He's been playing good footy. I think he'd find a home somewhere.
Danny, if they let those blokes go, you're not going to go on the open market now with Perth around and PNG and get better players than that. And I don't think they've got young guys in their system. Like you got the Hamish Stewart's a lock, right? Dylan Egan, is he?
He's back soon. He's back about round 8, round 9.
I can't
ACL.
remember. Where's he play again though?
He plays in the back row. Can't play middle, but he's more of a back rower.
So maybe you could afford to lose one of those guys, right? But you can't lose them both.
Reedy, there's no quick look. The only quick fix is if they get a different father and son in and get Ivan and Nathan to be their coach and halfback.
Yeah,
that's the only quick fix for the Dragons because it's going to require a signing or signings of that caliber if they want a fast turnaround to try and save this club. Because at the moment, they're either going to have to go youth or they're going to have to go crazy and get something which is hard to get. Like you just can't find that talent. I mean, that's part of a broader issue in the game, but you can't find superstars that easily. I mean, sure, one or two may pop up, but they've got to be the right person. They've got to be the right fit for the club, and they've got to want to play for that club as well. And like, we don't know who the coach is going to be beyond, maybe this week.
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't attract superstars if you can't tell your player who's going to be the coach. And look,
that's the other problem, Danny. You mentioned it then. I've been banging on about this for ages. They're not an attractive club anymore.
But they're not a big club.
They're not a big club anymore. They haven't been a big club for a long time. I know Andrew Lancaster and Tim Watford. They're trying to change that, right? But it's going to take time to change that external view of that footy club. And if they're in a fight with Melbourne, Brisbane, Canterbury, Penrith, I would even suggest a club like Parramatta. To try and get players, they're always going to lose now unless they play well over the odds, which is what they did for Keon. They gave him an extra year, right?
It's a helicopter ride, mate.
Yeah, helicopter ride an extra year, right? So that's their problem. That's the external view they've got to change.
Well, what do you think of your mate Dave Ricciardo's written a piece saying get rid of the bacon just the Dragons? Yeah.
Oh, look, I don't mind the theory. The theory I like, right, because that club is divided. No matter what people tell you at board level, there's still some underlying tension there, I reckon, between the two parties, Win, which is the Illawarra side, and obviously St. George, right? So it's never been hunky-dory, right? But and I don't think that's going to change just by changing the name. But I like the idea of getting rid of St. George Illawarra because I think it accentuates that there's two areas involved in that footy club.
Can I throw a conspiracy theory
what
out
do you
there?
got?
So we know who Dave's good mate is, Flano, right?
Yeah.
Shane Flanagan.
Yeah.
Is this a bit of a look over here tactic?
Oh, smoke's great.
I'm just wondering, look, everybody's talking about the Dragons or the Dargans as they might be called down the track, and we've got that to look at now. Don't look at Shane. Let's talk about something else. Now, I don't know that for a fact.
Wow.
Dave, I love your work. I'm just wondering whether.
I'm not sure that'll work. I'm not sure it's going to take the attention of Flano.
But
it does, it'll be
it has for a day,
hours.
hasn't it?
Yeah,
it has for a day. And I'm sure Flano will he's got to face some media tomorrow, I think. Yeah. Down at their new, very ritzy, high performance.
Have you toured?
No, I haven't. Charlie showed me a video on Instagram. I thought it was amazing.
Looks great.
I wouldn't mind having a look, but they said we're not allowed to go through it yet.
Yeah.
I don't know, like with a camera and stuff, because there are a few bits and pieces they have to get right still, and probably branding and all that sort of stuff.
A couple extra licks of paint it needs. A couple extra bits and pieces.
Just waiting for the coach's name to decide what they do with the
they
coach's name.
they haven't put the sign.
Is that like the Gordon Tallis room? Is that what you're saying? Is that Brent Reid room down there?
No, it is not, sadly. One day.
Last thing on the Dragons, I want to ask you boys, who's made this decision to pause the contract negotiations? Has Daniel Anderson got full control of this roster at the moment?
Question.
Is it the CEO?
I think it's the CEO made the decision. And I think the CEO made the call because they've made some horrific recruitment decisions in recent years. They need to just take stock of where they're at.
But that's not Daniel Anderson's fault.
No, it's
is
not
it?
Daniel
because he's only
Anderson's
come
fault.
in when
No,
he
no.
Probably
joined
the last
middle-
6 months or
Yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah.
I don't think anyone's suggesting it's Daniel's fault.
But why wouldn't they let him still be in charge of the roster?
Because I think, and the other issue is the coach. Obviously, that's an issue as well. You've
Yeah.
got to resolve your coach's future, and he's got to play a part. Look, as we said, I don't think anyone's going to beat a path to the door of these guys, these players who have had their contracts frozen.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I'm sure if they had Nathan Cleary in their ranks, right, and they're going rubbish, and Cleary is off contract, they wouldn't be freezing contract talks, right?
No.
It's because I don't think they've got overly. They're not overly concerned about these guys actually being on the market because they've been on the market for a while, and no one's, as I said, beaten a path to their door.
No.
So it's a calculated gamble, but it's.
And they won't be the only ones on the market. I reckon. Look, I know that internally the anger is definitely at the senior players in that group, but they feel that they haven't performed. So, if somebody came with an offer for, I'm just speaking, from what I can gather regarding the disquiet amongst the group is, if someone came for an offer and made an offer for Gutho, I reckon they'd look at it.
Yeah.
Val Holmes, they'd look at it. I just don't think I'm not sort of singling out myself. That's just from conversations I've had with the club, that those guys, they're not happy with the contribution they've made. But again, that's on the club for signing them. It's not on the player. I mean, if you're getting big money and you're at the stage of the career that both a Val Holmes and a Clint Gutherson are at, you're taking it and you're going, thank you very much, and I'll play my best. It hasn't worked out though.
It was a strategy that worked for Shane Flanagan at the Sharks really well, getting
Absolutely.
those experienced guys in. He knew what the players he needed for that Sharks team and got them to the next level. But for the Dragons, Gutho's been a bad buy.
Well, I
Holmes
think he
has
was all
been a
right
bad
last
buy.
year.
Yeah, he was one of the
solid.
best players.
Yeah.
But
And look,
he hasn't set the world alight, has he?
no, but we don't know I don't know what he does behind the scenes for that club, and I don't know what sort of leader he is amongst the playing group. I think that's valuable in some sense, but on the field, I just think with Gutho, people are saying he's fallen off a cliff and all that sort of thing. I think that he still has speed, but he hasn't got the stop-start anymore, which seems to be the difficulty. Like he can run, but then he can't change direction like he used to. So that does hurt him. And Val played. Was it Queensland last year? He played pretty well, but he hasn't been what they required either.
You've got yourself beaten Gutho in a sprint race, don't you?
Well, no, I've got a torn hammy.
So, yeah.
Well, it's getting
Okay,
better.
if your hammy was good,
I
could you
trained
beat him?
this morning. It was pretty
It was
good.
pretty good. You reckon you got him?
How many
No,
weeks
look,
are you away from beating Gutho?
I'm not sure I can beat him. I might have gone a bit farther. I might have got carried away.
Sound like you ready
Yeah, I know.
to make a statement?
I know.
One of Ipswich's most eligible bachelors of what was
It
the
was a
year?
long time ago.
What
It was,
year?
Around 1990 or something.
1990, yeah.
I'll bring the photo in. I've got to bring
Yeah,
the
you
photo
bring,
in.
yeah. Well,
So were you like the Ryan Phelan of Ipswich?
Ryan Phelan.
Wasn't he a bachelor? No, Ben Damon was I think these are other.
What a steam company.
Well, those guys have been bachelors,
Are they?
I think, in the media. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I was one of. It wasn't a competition, Charlie.
Yeah.
Did
we
you
need to
win?
clarify this. It wasn't a competition.
you were just nominated.
It was 6 eligible Ipswich bachelors. Three blokes.
Yeah.
3 girls.
I would have voted for you.
Yeah, it wasn't a vote. There was no vote conducted.
Okay.
Was that like Cleo's most eligible bachelor? Was
No,
that
it was
the
the
same
Que-
thing?
it
Were
was
there
similar,
any
yeah.
staples involved?
The Queensland Times it was.
Yeah, okay.
Queensland
So it wasn't
Times,
like a lift out,
No. I think it was a lift out from memory. Yeah.
like a wraparound around the front of the paper.
No, it was just 2
Oh,
pages.
how many
yeah.
pages in the Queensland? What the Ipswich
Probably only about
Times?
6.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, it's big. That's
That's a-
big.
It wasn't a big paper
Yeah.
back then. It was okay back
That's
then.
actually a really big contribution
Yeah,
to.
it is.
No,
that-
it was a bigger paper than that. I'm taking the mickey.
We're-
It's only online now, I think, actually.
We're actually talking the Ipswich Jets a bit later on, so stick around for that.
Stomping ground.
But Danny, I want to talk about something from your column on Sunday.
Mhm.
The Penrith Panthers. Now, they've got a huge salary cap headache. A lot of their big name players coming off contract. I think actually Curtis was mentioned this to us a few weeks ago.
Did he?
They had a
Okay.
lot of players off contract.
Okay,
and,
thank you, Curtis.
But
on fire,
he's on
Curtis.
fire. He's on fire.
He's a dragon, though, isn't he?
He's a dragon, yeah. So
okay.
that's why he's
Let's-
looking at other clubs. He's just-
let's
I
just-
don't know who
yeah,
can sign.
Let's just douse that fire for a little while.
But Danny, in the article as well, you mentioned Mitch Kenny and Liam Martin are considering moves to Papua New Guinea.
Well, I think that's definitely on their radar. They want to explore it. I think Mitch Kenny has leadership aspirations, and I think that if there was a perfect world, captain of the PNG Chiefs may be a role that Mitch Kenny would like to take up. Again, it's a fair way down the track. We're speculating, but I think that he has definite leadership aspirations, and I know that Kenny's the sort of bloke that PNG would like to get. Liam Martin is another one. There's definitely all of this is exploratory. You can't, because you're not allowed to talk and all that sort of thing. But I think there's definitely an interest there from the Martin camp. And it's hard to know whether, any of this is being used to bump up prices, because there are a lot of players at Penrith who are going to be off contract.
Do you want me to run through those names?
Some of them, yeah.
Nathan
sure.
Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Tom Jenkins is actually off contract this year.
Yeah, he's off.
Talangi, To'o, Moses Leota, Paul Alamotti, and Isaiah Papali'i.
Well, that's a
Great list.
Yeah, and it's, they've been through this before, Penrith, haven't they? Where they will lose players, and I guess they're going to. They face that. They face that reality. They will lose players, and it depends a lot. I think a lot of it depends on, and Reedy, you know this stuff well, is on how much they actually sign Nathan for.
Well, he's the one who really intrigues me, Danny, because I was just gibbering with people yesterday.
As you do.
And someone said to me, he is definitely going to November 1.
Yeah.
Not because he necessarily wants to leave, but just because he wants to see what's out there for him.
So I put this on him at a press conference about a week ago.
Yeah.
And I kept on saying, mate, you said you want to do that. You said,
yeah.
But he was backing away from it. And I said, well, mate, you're going to have to face media stuff like this from me. And I think then he said, I might have to fast track things. So I don't think he liked the idea of blokes like you, me, and whoever else sort of pestering about it. Especially, he's going to get asked about it during Origin and all that sort of stuff.
Well, it's really intriguing if he goes to November 1, Danny, because you think when his next deal starts 2028, right? Because he's on contract land at 27. That's the new broadcasting deal. I think we imagine the cap will go up around 18-20%. I think he's at $2 million. I think you got to pay him $2 million then.
At Penrith or elsewhere?
Maybe if they want to be in the market. And then I don't think, even if he goes and explores rugby, or I'm not sure he'll get that in rugby, $2 million.
Maybe in France or somewhere, maybe.
But it's a big call for a rugby team in France to sign Nathan Cleary on $2 million a year.
Yeah.
So, but I'm really intrigued to see if he goes to November 1, what sort of offers he gets. Because there'll be teams out there who, even if Penrith don't throw $2 million at him on a new salary cap, there'll be clubs throwing $2 million at Nathan Cleary, and then he's got a decision to make.
Yeah, I think. Well, he's going to be the player most likely to crack that. I think we're talking Izzy Katoa could be the first one to do that, but I think Nathan could get there before that. But Penrith have to know what he wants. Penrith have to sit down with him at some point and say, hey, listen, what are we talking about if you're going to stay? Because we've got all these other guys off contract, and it is a juggle when you've got a team full of superstars and rising stars. Like I spoke to Blaze Talangi yesterday, and he wants to stay.
But that's interesting, Danny, because Penrith work under a distinct system, which Matt Cameron spoke about on the buy round a while ago.
Can you explain it to me?
Where they put percentages on, so they have a certain percentage of their salary cap dedicated to centres, certain percentage to wingers, certain percentage to a full or the spine or the halves, right? So if Blaze Talangi and Nathan are off contract at the same time, like Blaze Talangi is now becoming an elite six, right?
Has he hit that yet?
He's not quite there yet, but I'll tell you what, he might be in 18 months' time.
Yeah.
So if you've got Nathan, who's potentially in offers of $2 million a year, and you've got Blaze Talangi on the open market, they don't stray from that system, but they may have to stray from that system if they want to keep those two guys.
Well, then the bank breaks elsewhere.
Exactly.
Then a Liam Martin. Liam Martin's interesting because the Roosters recruitment guy, Joel Carbone, that's his favourite player. And, I think he would take a bit of pride in getting Liam Martin to the Roosters, who are losing Angus Crichton, who are losing other players. And, he may be a player that could strengthen the Roosters. So he's a real option, for that if things get too tight elsewhere. And that's like the percentage system's interesting, and it's a great thing to have in theory, but it does mean you lose players.
And the other part of that system for their outside backs is they have their percentage, but they have one highly paid winger, one highly paid centre, one cheap centre, one cheap winger. Like you see at the moment, To'o Jenkins, I guess McLean Alamotti.
So at the moment they've got Cleary, Talangi.
Yep, correct. Yeah.
But that could, in 18 months' time, I don't know whether you can have Cleary, Talangi.
And the other one, To'o, I asked James Graham about this the other day, what he's worth in the open market. He said To'o is worth $1 million a year on the open market.
He's a winger.
I know he's a winger, but what he does for a team.
You know what he says, a winger.
He said he for a struggling side, for Perth Bears, for example, for Papua New Guinea, $1 million a year.
Look, wingers are more valuable now for sure.
There's no winger worth $1 million. No winger in the game.
But to a team that needs a superstar. Dragons. What would the Dragons pay for someone like Brian Toto?
Not $1 million. They're mad if they pay $1 million.
If they're building around Brian Toto, that's the wrong way to go. The Dragons. But I mean, I think
he's in the world.
He might be an $800,000 winger under a new cap because he's what, a $600,000 winger now. So, and look, if there's a winger in the game at the moment who can command that sort of money, I'm looking at him.
Yeah,
because he is the ultimate winger, like the yardage, and him and Coates are just ridiculously good.
750, 800 max.
With Cleary, you said that he'd struggle to get $2 million in rugby. Wouldn't the Wallabies go and reach out to their benefactors and say, mate, we need whatever money you guys can throw in. We can get Nathan Cleary. It's going to change the entire course of rugby in Australia.
He hasn't played a lot of rugby, has he? From
no, still, it's Nathan Cleary.
It's a hell of a risk.
It's worth it.
For $2 million,
I don't think it's a risk.
I
think he could walk into the Wallabies in the next 6 months and make a big difference.
Yep.
I just think he's that good a player, and he's that professional, and that he study it so well, and even his style of game is a little bit like, I think, a rugby 10, like in terms of the passing, where his strengths are passing. He's a good runner, and his kicking game is next level. I don't think he'd have a problem, if that was the way he wanted to go. And eventually, he's a smart kid. Eventually, he's going to want a new challenge, and I don't know what that's going to be. I'd like to see him play. Personally, I'd like to see him play his career out of Penrith.
Yeah,
but if he is going to look for a challenge, that could be it at the end of his career.
I can't imagine him playing against Penrith.
No,
I don't think.
Can't imagine him for the Dragons.
No, particularly not while his dad's still coaching. I can't imagine he'd play against him. But in terms of rugby, the only thing I would say, only other thing I'd say is he's going to miss the 27 World Cup.
Yep.
27,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So the next one's 2031.
How old is he then?
Well, that's the and the other issue is if you're going to steal him at the end of 27, you would want him to sign through to a World Cup. That's a 4-year deal at that's $8 million for a bloke who's turning maybe 35 at the next World Cup. That is a risk.
That's a risk. Yeah, at that age probably. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of rugby people who the whispers were that he was going to the Wallabies, weren't they, for his last deal, but obviously didn't eventuate. I want to ask you guys about the TV rights. You said 20%. What sort of
18 to 20%?
What sort of figure does the TV rights deal? And you might not know this.
Danny
need to
know
be.
better than me.
No, I don't know. What do you think I'm walking around on the?
Volandi's trumpeted $4 billion.
Well, I only hear what Volandis is saying. I don't hear anything from within the Nine group and network and what they're willing to pay, and or what DAZN are willing to pay. I don't know, but that's what Volandis has set the mark at. That's big money.
Huge.
Massive
It's big
money.
and he
It's a bit of an ambit claim, though. Dan, I'm not sure.
Well, they want more than whatever AFL got, right? And I don't know if we'll ever know if the league does get more than AFL.
The last broadcast deal never got made public, did it, from memory?
No, not properly.
They kept it
No,
in-house,
a lot of clubs blew about it too because they said, "What was it?" But Volandis is making the noise to get. He's setting a mark, and he wants the networks to deliver that, and that's not easy. And I think the media landscape has changed a lot. It's changed a lot, and the rivers of gold in television, I don't think they are there like everybody thinks they are. So I think it's going to be a really tough negotiation for PVL and Andrew Abdo and whoever else is involved. So I don't think it's an easy negotiation.
I thought the timing of the article was really interesting. A couple of days after the restrictions on gambling advertising.
Was this a Bedell?
Bedell, yeah, but it cut 3 days after
leaked ratings.
Leaked ratings.
Yeah, but it was 2 or 3 days after the gambling advertising restrictions have been put on the TV networks, which basically takes away those Joel Kane style odd segments. That was one of the restrictions.
Yeah, where's the money coming from?
Yeah, but I think that's like a $90 million loss for the TV network. So that's obviously got to have an impact on what the TV rights are worth.
It has to have, and I just don't. I like the ambition that the game has, and the game needs the television money, but I just don't think it's easily there. Like the TV's got to get the money from somewhere, and you're talking about revenue being cut from gambling and that sort of thing. Like where's the money coming from? And it's like, and then people talk about, we'll sell State of Origin off separately. Well, from everything I've been told in the past, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the Nine Network in any way, but it's always been explained to me that the competition runs either at a loss or not a huge profit. Where the money comes into TV networks or for free to air is State of Origin.
Yeah.
So if you want to sell off State of Origin, it's going to be hard to sell off the rest of the comp at a huge price.
I think it'll end up pretty much status quo.
Mm.
That's what I imagine will happen. Because
Well, you follow this stuff pretty closely.
Well, you try, but they're very tight-lipped at the moment about it, Danny. It's very hush-hush, right, what's going on. But, there's a suggestion Paramount's involved. I don't know how true that is.
Netflix, they've ruled themselves
Netflix
out.
has said no.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine it changing from what it currently is. I imagine it'll be the same. If anything, maybe 7 gets a game, one game and one game alone. I can't imagine they'll split Origin. I think, as you said, Danny,
That's
it's
where
too
the money
valuable,
is,
right, to 9. So everyone's going to have to get more creative, though. That's the other thing. The game's got to, the broadcasters got to get more creative when you lose the gambling revenue. The game's got to get more creative as well because the game loses a lot of revenue through, or gets a lot of revenue through gambling.
Huge.
So everyone's got to be a little bit more creative to make up for that void that has been created by this change of regulations around gambling.
Do you think that article was maybe placed because of the gambling stuff, or do you think
I don't know.
That's
Maybe-
pretty much
maybe-
You might be
tinfoil hat
giving,
on.
you might be giving Bedell too much credit.
maybe I'm too sinister. in the way I
That's
think.
what I thought. I thought when
so yours, you got
that's what I
tinfoil-
thought. That's
yeah.
what I said just then when I
Yeah.
brought it up. Like,
Yeah.
I think so. 3 days after that comes out, it's interesting time.
It is interesting timing, but we're only guessing. We can't give you a firm. I know that there are definitely talks going on.
Yeah.
And that things are being proposed, and I know that the NRL has a preference for the way things could go, and they what they want, but we'll see whether any of that actually comes to fruition.
Now, guys, if you want to watch the show, you can. Just search Triple M NRL on YouTube. You can see the beautiful Brent Reid, the well-Botoxed forehead.
Mate.
Yeah, Botox.
No, I don't have Botox.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm 100%
You look young.
sure.
How are you over 50 yet,
56.
mate?
56, mate. You look
56.
fantastic, mate. You look fantastic.
What's
Seriously.
doing this? A G up? Set
No,
up?
genuinely,
It's
you look
true.
fantastic.
No, there's no cosmetic
No.
help.
Mate,
This
you
is all
move
good.
well.
A bloke
good living.
who used to sit in that chair for a long time.
He had a bit,
He had a little bit of help.
he had a little bit
Jamie.
of help, didn't he?
He had a.
Did he ever confirm that?
Well, he never went to Turkey,
No.
but I think he stayed local.
Domestic help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he came in one year. We were in the off season. We were doing the Journos podcast when Adam Peacock, yourself, and Chammy came in looking like David Riccio. He'd had his whole head shaved, and it was obviously the start of the procedure.
Hang on, Riccio looked better than Jamie.
They looked very similar, similar
I think
bald heads.
Riccio looked better.
Did he? Okay, yeah.
But
Well,
Chammy, then that is one of the great yarns of 2025.
One of the great comeback
the
stories.
revitalisation.
do you think if he doesn't get his hair done, he doesn't get the PNG
I've
role?
got
Do you
no
think that
doubt.
connects
No
it?
doubt.
Yeah, the
No
butterfly
doubt. It's a
effect.
fair
That's how it
question.
works.
No doubt.
I'll ask PVL. I'll give him a ring later.
On YouTube, though, you can drop in your comments and we'll talk about them on the show. And this comes from @Infinite Lucario, who says, I think the extra game should go on the Saturday so you can have either footy 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. or chuck it late on the Sunday. With all the great content, podcast, radio and TV shows out there, a Monday night game ruins those shows.
I think it'll be Sunday night. That's my gut feeling. What do you reckon, Danny? You're the
So,
TV guy.
Well, hang on, you're on TV every night of the week by the
He's on tonight.
Tune in tonight.
360.
360, guys.
Oh. He's looking at the camera.
Yeah, I
You
was
see
looking at the
that?
camera then. I was like,
Where's the
"How am I
camera?
looking? Oh, it's over there. Tune in tonight. 360.
Look, it's interesting you say Sunday night. I don't think. Well, if the free to air component has any say, I don't think they'd want more games up against the 6 p.m. news because it's a value it's a commodity that's really highly valued on free to air television, and the Sunday night game would be at a 6:15 slot, which
Could you not push it to 7 or?
maybe if it was a later slot, but I don't there's already the Friday night the game that we always forget about,
Yeah.
except for when the Dragons play Manly or something. But that's not popular with free to air execs, I don't think, and I don't think they'd like another game up against the 6 p.m. news. So it may be a later start, and that would allow a Fox or someone to have a show like a review show or a
Yeah.
preview show, which they're always very watchable, aren't they? And that would probably be. I would think that would be a consideration in what time the game would go ahead. Monday night, I remember Monday night footy.
Yeah.
It died off with no people in the end. I liked watching it at home on TV, great. It felt like the weekend wasn't stopping, but to go out on a Monday night, Only hardcore people like you, Charlie.
I can't really remember, but what sort of quality of games would they put on that Monday night? Because in the Super Bowl, in the NFL, Monday Night Football's massive.
huge,
they
isn't
put
it?
the
Yeah.
big teams on Monday night.
Good question.
I can't remember.
I reckon
either.
they would have treated it like it was an average slot, like it was a Saturday 3:00.
Yeah.
You bagging the
Potentially.
Saturday 3:00, are you?
Well, we get it here on
Yeah,
Triple
I
M.
was about to say, that's one of your games.
Yeah, it's one of our games. We
Hey,
get
it's
it
a
here.
great slot.
And you hear Anthony Maroon, and he can
Oh, you
make
know,
any game
I
exciting.
love Maroon. You
Yeah.
know that.
He's
I think I'm Maroon's biggest
Yeah.
fan.
He's got a long list of fans.
Does
People
he?
love him. Yeah,
Not
people
more
love
than
him.
me, surely.
Yeah, well, you're number one.
It's interesting for Monday night though, Danny, because particularly for commercial television, right? You guys have got maths,
Maths. I'm watching maths. I'm
and
afraid.
Seven's got what do they have on?
They probably have Australian Idol or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, that's a big night.
It's a big night for regular shows.
Correct.
Right. So, would commercial television want the Monday nights?
Well, I
slot?
don't think Nine's moving maths for footy.
Yeah.
Maths rates its backside off.
Yeah.
So I don't think. What do you remember about Monday night? Do you remember Wacker the emu? Was that the mascot? There was a giant emu.
Can't remember.
I think did Graham Hughes used to call it?
Maybe.
How long ago was
No,
that, Danny?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I'm feeling like, or was it Ian Maurice? Those
Oh
back?
my God, you're going way back.
Well, I am
The
going way
bear.
back, but I do remember they had this really unusual mascot that maybe an emu.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I could be having
It
some
was
sort
the
of.
start of Triple
bad
M Monday Night
flashback.
Footy as well. That was the start of Triple M NRL.
Really?
I
The
think,
first thing they called was
I think
Monday Night Footy.
Gus used to be.
Gus was on it. Andrew Johns.
Gus Ganane.
Yeah, Ganane.
Yeah.
Sterlo?
Sterlo.
back then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joey Johns as well. It was a
Mate, what a
star-studded
star
crew.
started.
Jeez, we've fallen off the rails here, haven't we? Now we got
now.
Jimmy Graham and Aaron Woods.
Oh,
running the
Woodsy.
show.
Oh
What's
my
going on?
God.
Don't be like that.
Woodsy dribbling.
The reason
Woodsy.
we're getting the extra games because of Perth coming into the team, into the competition. A little bit of mail from our great mate Adam Pengilly over the
Yes.
weekend that David Sharp could already be on the nose there.
Yes,
Is that correct?
correct.
Wow, that's massive.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Like for some reason, I knew about it. I didn't write it a couple of weeks ago, and then I just forgot to write it. But it's absolutely right. Absolutely right. He's on the nose. And where that goes, who knows? Because Mal Meninga is tight with David Sharp, and I think that. Remember Mal? Who was the recruitment guy? Ezra.
Ezra Howe.
Remember that all fell over? I was one
Yeah.
of Mal's mates. And I don't think Mal would be too happy if a few of his mates are getting moved on or not getting employed or whatever. So it's one they need to sort out. But it's absolutely right.
Yeah, it's massive. He's their GM of football. So Mal and him go back to the Canberra.
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
And then he's
Yeah.
come from it was such a
What
strange
sport
appointment.
integrity he came
Yeah,
from?
A police officer, basically, and a guy working for the AFP coming in as your general manager of football. Very
Yeah.
odd.
It is-
But
it is
Mel's
not
had a
appointment.
long-standing relationship with him back, as you said, back to the Canberra days.
Yeah.
I think he was his footy manager, wasn't
Right.
he, back at Canberra?
But if you do that, so Mal Meninga hasn't coached for 25 years in an
You love
NRL
bringing that up,
level.
don't you?
Well, it's
Yeah.
massive. It's
No,
a
no,
big-
but is it, was that, I don't know if that's the right number.
One of the great
it is
one of the great
2001.
Queensland coaches,
2001, I
mate.
think,
Come
was the
on.
last NRL
Okay,
season
yeah,
he was head coaching.
Okay.
So 25 years ago.
And Charlie, you've got every reason to bring it up because it's a fact. And it's going to be a massive test for Mal, and he's going to need the correct people around him. And he obviously views David Sharp as one of those people. But he's got Ben Gardner there as well, who's going to be his assistant. And
Have they appointed any other assistants?
I don't know,
I
actually.
don't think they have they?
But I think it's no, I don't know if they have, but it's going to be a massive test. I know he's a great Queenslander, great Australian coach, but he hasn't been in the game for a long time. And yeah, I'll be watching that one with a bit of interest.
Players make coaches, Danny, and they're
Yeah,
not
ask Flano.
they're not quite there yet. Like
Yeah.
in terms of their roster, I
Now,
think.
talking about coaches, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sieb's gone for it. I know you've already declared Kieran Foran to be.
the Messiah,
Messiah.
the manly Messiah.
Did you get a message from Kieran after that?
No. I was supposed to catch up with him today.
Yeah.
He canned it.
Well,
He brushed me.
I thought you said you brushed him to
No,
come
no,
here.
he crushed me.
Um,
Well, I sort of brushed.
the-
I told him I was out of action in the middle of the day because of this, but anyway.
We've both been writing about the Penn situation,
Mm.
the ownership and the chairman, and I think we're actually in agreement on a lot of this, Reedy.
Yeah.
You wrote an article which was pretty detailed and deep. Like, how much of what we're being told is true about what the
Yeah.
Penn contribution is?
In terms of their finances, Danny, yeah, we had a story on Saturday about it because it's interesting. One of the things they've been sort of pressing on public is the Pens put a lot of money into the football club. And yes, they've put a lot of money into the football club over the years. They've also taken a lot of money out of that deal and made a lot of money.
They get
out of
angry
that
when
deal.
you say that, though.
They do, but there's no look. as part of they took over the Leagues Club. I can't remember how many years ago it was now. I think they paid $7.5 million or something for the Leagues Club in the car park next door. They made about $20 million on that deal when they sold it. So one of the issues I had, I mean, Jason King was on the show on Sunday and he brought up the Leagues Club and I bumped into some of it. It's funny because on Friday I was at the butcher at Balgowlah and I bumped into someone from the Leagues Club and they said, look, we're really annoyed. They keep saying we put no money in. The reason we put no money in is because Scott Penn sold it to some Chinese or Malaysian developers and they charge us $1.5 million a year rent. So we can't afford to put any money in. If he'd held on to it, we could have. So when he brought it up on Sunday, it got my back up a bit because I thought about what this person said to me. I said, well, Scott has made a lot of money out of this football club and one of the areas he's made a lot of money is the Leagues Club. He made about $20 million on that deal. And then if you look at their accounts, their ownership group, which is Scott, Andrew, Michael and Gary Wallman, Scott's the majority owner. They own, or the Penn family own the vast majority of the club and Andrew and Gary own about 25%, I think. You know, they've loaned about $10 million. Or not, I think it was $9 million. Sorry, these are the 24 accounts. So they haven't filed the 25 accounts yet. It was about $9 million they'd loaned to the club and they're charging interest on that amount. So Jason and I had a bit of a discussion off air because he said, you know, the Pens have been very generous. They put a lot of money in. And I said, but hold on, mate. They're also making money. They're charging interest on the money they've given the football club. So you can't say they're being generous or they're just handing over cash willy-nilly when they're actually making money. And when they sell that football club, like in 2 years' time when the new broadcast deal comes in. Which is probably
when they'll sell it, if they're going to sell it.
That new broadcast deal, if it is what we expect it to be, the value of rugby league clubs is going to go through the roof again. Now, that footy club, they've been offered $30 million. In 2 years' time, they could get offered $50 million for that football club. And at the same time, they're charging that football club interest on loans they've given.
Yeah, well, that's fine if they get that offer that and they take it. That's smart business. And all of that's smart. But don't say to us that things aren't actually, you know, that what we're asking questions are not valid questions about how much they're contributing, how much they're spending actually on the team. I hear stories about, you know, they're not flying security guards up until the day of the game. Like they're leaving the team unattended, which not a huge deal. But if something happened, it becomes a story for someone like me or Reedy when they say, oh, well, was there a security guard there helping the team or policing the team on that night? Little things like that. You hear stories about staff not doubling up in roles, strength and conditioning being forwards coaches and that necessarily doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at other clubs.
Well, I think they have marketing people working the gates or
that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that, to me, that doesn't smack of a ownership group who are putting enough money back into a club to make it attractive to people who work there and also to players who want to come there necessarily. And I worry for a Kieran Foran or whoever else about the impact that's going to have on the football front eventually. I mean, it's. Whereas some clubs, let's say the Broncos or the Roosters, they roll out the red carpet for players and for people who want to be involved in that club, and they treat them really well. So I think that's why I've been asking those questions, and I think that coaches who want that job should also ask those questions about how much is being put in the pathways. I mean, I think they're putting a couple of million in. Other clubs are putting in triple that.
Yeah, but again, Danny, their argument is we fund the pathways, right? And it gives a perception that the Pens or the owners are funding the pathways. They're not. That money's coming into what the club generates, which is out of game day. It's out of the $17 million grant you get from the NRL. Yep. Right? It's not. I know they own the footy club, but the money it's not like it's coming out of their pocket and going to junior development. It's the football club's self-sufficient, and it funds the junior pathways. Yep. So it just annoys me a bit when I think you got a right to be annoyed about it. And my bigger issue though, Danny, isn't even it's not the ownership. It's that you have a chairman, and I think we blew it about this. You've got a chairman who spends 10 to 11 months, 10 months in America. Yep. Like the good chairmen in this game are here, boots on the ground. Nick Politis was at training the other day for when Victor Radley was having his training sessions before he's making his comeback this week. Nick, he's there quite regularly, but Nick also spends time overseas. He does, yeah. But you know what? He'll fly back from Greece or somewhere to watch the Roosters play against the Knights at Newcastle. He'll land in Sydney, drive up to Newcastle, or be driven, I don't know, but he'll be there to watch his team, even if he's been away for 4 days of that week or overseas. He'll make an effort to be there, and I think you're right. It's for a club that's big on optics, and that's a big reason why
I think that the Manly decision came with Cherry Evans, after the Cherry Evans game for Seabold because of optics.
Yeah,
It didn't
he
look,
was in town.
and it didn't look good. It didn't look good for him, and he didn't. He saw the booing, and so I think that for a club that's big on optics, the idea that the owner is away in New York for that amount of time isn't great. And I've brought it up before because I kept hearing rumblings that people on the board were also of that opinion that they didn't like that, and someone else should be chairman. It just gets shut down every time. And
Scott's show. I mean, you speak to people on that board, and they'll tell you he is the one making the decisions. They might be on the board, but it's Scott's team. Scott makes the calls.
He's allowed to do that.
Yeah,
but to do that, surely it's important that he's here more. That's that. I think as the owner, chairman, what he's allowed, that's his right to have it as his show. But he's also then got to take ownership of the fact they've been through a stack of coaches, a stack of CEOs, and whilst we're focusing heavily on the Dragons at the moment, they're not yet out of the woods. No. I mean, they've still got to find who their coach is going to be, whether it's the Messiah Foz or Matty Ballin or whoever else. They've got to find someone.
Who do you reckon's getting that job?
Well, I think your man Foz, if he can have some success, he's not without a hope. Other than that, when Seabold was on the way out, he was being told it was Matt Ballin.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe. Jason King, we know he's such an organised guy, right? Lawyer, worked at the NRL for a long time.
He's impressive.
But I find it hard to believe that he and the club wouldn't make that move without having someone in mind.
Well, they'd have to have someone in
and
mind.
I think Matt Ballin was the guy, and maybe Foz can change that. But, I just get the feeling that it's Matt Ballin's job.
Well, Foz is a hugely romantic choice, isn't it? It's the Benji Marshall of the West Tigers. Like Benji struggled for a bit, now he's coming through. It's that decision, isn't it? It's the Benji Marshall decision where he's a favourite. He's maintained friends with everybody there. He's considered to be a Manly man, which they love to have at Manly. He spilt blood for the club. There was no one tougher. He's an obvious. If he can string some wins together,
put some pressure on.
It makes it really hard to go past him. However, there's the Ballin thing. I don't know why Brad Arthur's not talked about more as well. Like why it wouldn't be good for Brad to be there for a few years and Kieran is his assistant, but we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Well, I thought reading the tea leaves that it was Brad Arthur makes the most sense because there was mail that Matt Ballin was happy to come this season. And if he was the guy, why wouldn't they just get him there now?
But I think Brad Arthur would be happy to come now too.
He'd be happy to leave Leeds immediately.
I reckon.
Yeah, right.
I reckon he would. I reckon if suddenly they said, okay, we need you as a head coach in 3 weeks, you'd have to tell Leeds, see you later. And I think that they know that ultimately Brad wants to be an NRL coach again.
I don't think Brisbane let Matt Ballin out.
Really?
No.
Madge can do it all by himself,
just
mate.
lost Ben Teo.
So Matt Ballin wouldn't have anything in his clause in his contract if he got a head coaching gig, he'd be able to exit that contract. A lot of those top
the
level
little I know of
assistants
Matt
do.
Ballin is a pretty honourable guy. I can't imagine he'd want to walk out mid-season on Brisbane, particularly in the situation they're in right now.
Yeah.
Big leap though still, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about we like Matt Ballin because he's a Manly guy, but they're taking on a guy who hasn't been in charge of a first-grade NRL team again.
Foz has been a coach for 4 weeks, don't he? He's the other one we're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I know.
Like it's still
either way, it's a risk.
That's why I think of Brad Arthur in the background. I think he's a safe choice.
He's the logical one, right?
Safe.
Yeah, he's the logical one, the safe one. But
he mightn't bring you a premiership, but he'll bring you some stability and toughness and allow you to breathe and make a decision that is less reactionary. A Manly can be a very reactionary club.
Yeah.
Did you say just before that Scott Penn lends money to the club and puts interest on those loans?
Yeah.
That's
It's
embarrassing.
around 6%, I believe.
That's embarrassing, isn't it? Like if you own the club to be doing that to the club, if you actually care about it.
Well, obviously
That's why we ask questions, Charlie. That's why Reedy, I read that article. And look, I'm not smart enough to understand everything Reedy writes, but that's why I wanted him to explain it a bit more.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. I find that really interesting.
It's in the so that can be converted into, when they sell a club, it can be converted into shares. A couple of years ago, I believe they took about $1.5 million out of the club, I think, to repay some of that debt.
Again, that was denied to me when I asked about it. They said no.
It was in the financial reports.
I know,
the $1.5 million got taken out.
I asked them.
I don't know where it went if it didn't go to them.
Yeah.
They said it wasn't right.
Well, when I asked them, are you taking money out of the club? No. I've got text messages that, I blew his Scott Penn a lot.
Okay, well, if it didn't go to the Pens and
I don't know where it
owners,
went.
I don't know where that money went.
Maybe the son who's on the board there now. Maybe
went
Scott Penn's
somewhere.
son.
1.5 mil, 2023. Anyway.
Hey, let's talk to the Ipswich Jets. 'cause it's
Oh,
close
my
to
old
your heart,
stomping
Reedy.
ground.
What's going on? They might be in the NRL. Is that right?
Mate, we haven't even got the 18th and the 19th teams in yet. We're already talking about the 20th one. Well, look, obviously New Zealand was the favourite for this 20th spot, but the NRL wasn't overly impressed with their bids when they put them in. Was that last year?
Was that the
Year before?
Christchurch?
Christchurch, the South
Was
Island
that the
bids.
Zorba? Remember Peter
Zorba
Peters
was
got everyone.
involved, yeah.
Were you there that day?
I wasn't there. No, I got invited. I couldn't go.
I think it was, yeah.
But obviously that Western Corridor, it's a bit of a battleground right up there with the AFL invading it. And it's always been a breeding ground of rugby league players. I mean, that's Alan Langer, that's the Walters boys, Brett Plowman. I went to school with Brett Plowman. Willie Kahn went to my school because I went to Big Grammar.
Did you put any shots on?
Nick Politis went to my school, actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Did you put any
way
shots
back.
on Brett Plowman?
No, man. He came
What a
in year
unit.
12. Mate,
What
he
a-
was...
One of
he
the
was-
biggest humans ever.
Mate, he was like that in year 12. He was a monster.
Really?
Incredible.
Mate, his legs would have been bigger than you.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Just a unit.
So, I mean,
What a winger.
it's produced a lot of good footballers over the years, Ipswich, and it continues to produce good footballers. So, if they're going to go that way, I mean, it's the logical. If you're going to put another team in Queensland, that's the place where you put the team.
Reedy, so people who know stuff tell me that the setup that the Dolphins have is incredible. They're juniors, they're kids coming through there.
Yep.
They are going to be an absolute powerhouse in years to come. Not like it mightn't be immediate,
Yep.
but they're going to really show the Broncos a thing or two when it comes to the talent they've got. Do you hear similar stuff? And is there enough talent? Then I don't understand that corridor as well as you would.
Yeah.
Is there enough talent? Because my biggest worry about all this expansion is the talent.
Talent, yeah. Well, look, I think they've had an explosion in junior numbers in Queensland
Right.
the last 12 months.
So
and I
is that
think,
due to Ben Eichen?
probably,
Yeah.
well, Benny probably leaked the figures, I imagine.
Bedell.
Good man, Benny. But, I think that area is, it's a growing area, Danny, in terms of population as well.
Yep.
And it's rugby league heartland. Like, that is rugby league country. You know, and
Well,
as
that's
I said,
AFL's going after
the
it, though,
AFL's
isn't it?
having a go at it,
Yeah.
but it's ingrained in rugby league,
Right.
that area. It always has been. I mean, as I said, Israel Folau played. I was born in Goodnam, which is about halfway between Ipswich and Brisbane, but it's Ipswich, right? Israel Folau played rugby league there as a kid, you know. So it's just produced a lot of good footballers over the years. It continues to produce a lot of good footballers. But the danger is if you don't do something about it, if you don't, and I know the QRL spend money there, right? But if you give them a football team, you'll stamp out the AFL in a heartbeat because it's rugby league. As I said, it's rugby league heartland. If they had their own football team, they go nuts there.
Well, it sounds like it's more logical to have a team there and New Zealand and Perth. Yeah.
Well, it probably is, Danny. And you know what? It'd be from a TV. You'd know this better than me. From a TV perspective.
Mate, I just switch the TV on. I don't make it.
Well, given the amount of people,
I can't even work mine at the moment.
But I would imagine another team in Queensland
Yeah.
would be better for ratings than what Perth's going to be.
Well, I don't know how much consideration the broadcasters, whether it be DAZN or Nine or News Corp, were given to. Do you want teams in these places? I don't know how much they were brought into that, that inner sanctum to say, well, this is what we're doing. How would it be good for TV?
Yeah.
I worry a bit about Perth.
I'm very worried about Perth.
I heard Brandy Alexander talking about them, and he described them. He said it's like the middle kid or the kid you've left at the supermarket and you've driven home and you've forgotten they're there. Like that was a like they're a little bit, they're a little bit out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And
Do you think they've put? Obviously, we're going Perth 20. What are we going?
2027 they come in?
next year,
And
mate.
PNG
28.
PNG 28.
This time next year, you're going to be carving up the Mal Meninga saying he must go after 5
Three
rounds.
rounds.
Yeah,
3 rounds.
three
The
rounds,
new
yeah.
marker.
3
Do
rounds.
you think we should have
3
separated?
game at a time.
Do you think we should have separated them a bit more to give Perth a bit of breathing space? Because
or help them.
it feels like they're now fishing in the same pond as PNG
Well, they are.
with a salary cap. The PNG's got a salary cap
Well,
that's
Tammy's got double the money.
astronomical.
He's
So
got double the coin.
I don't know whether maybe we should have opened the gap up a little bit more
You don't
between
he-
the two.
You don't hear a lot of players sort of speaking quietly or their managers saying, "Hey, look, we really want to go to Perth."
I know, yeah.
But if you speak to managers, and you don't hear them saying, "I want to go to the Dragons" either, by the way.
No.
But what you hear is managers saying, "Oh, I wouldn't mind, exploring." Well, obviously, there's money,
Money.
but they say that, and
Yeah.
I think I'm not a PNG fan. I've said that 100 times, but I think it seems to be an easier sell to the
Yeah.
player at the moment
Chamis
than
the
Perth.
genius.
Well, all the benefits for
At the
these
moment.
of these two expansion teams, PNG's the one with all the benefits, basically. Like, yeah, Perth's obviously a nicer place to live than Papua New Guinea, but they've got to give him something. Like,
They gave him nothing.
They give him nothing. They give him an extra 25% in the salary cap, something like that. Because if that team's bad, no one's going to go to it. It's not there's this huge rugby league fan base there. There's obviously some fans, but it's not giant.
Plus, Charlie, the local media is going to be against them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already. I mean, I don't know what the Channel 7 stance is now, but previously it had been we're not covering Perth.
Well, it's interesting that because obviously SCA, where we work, they've now it's the same company, and SCA big supporters of rugby league.
Yeah.
What's his name? The big seven, big dog. I've forgotten his name.
Kerry Stokes.
He's
That
not
bloke.
He's not part of the setup here anymore, is he? So
Okay, so maybe it'll be different.
yeah, maybe different. They're doing the Rugby League World Cup this off season. They obviously have interest in covering rugby league. So
Well, the local paper just gives the Perth Bears nothing. Maybe and only wants to smash them. So I don't know how that's going to pan out, but I find that that's going to be part of it as well. Like, you know, what Brandy actually said, he might be right in his analysis of where they're at.
What have they signed? 16 players they've signed?
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay, you love this sort of. You're like a Chamis style figure.
It just
you love the squads.
It just lacks star power.
yeah. Well, Wishart's a 5-year deal
Yeah.
with an exit clause in the last season.
Yeah, well, you've got to look. I mean, everyone talks about option deals and how much drama they are, but if you want to get players to places like Perth, you've got to give them options.
Is that squad you're looking at now, right? Or what do you reckon it's better than what the Dolphins put together for their first squad?
No, I don't think it is. No, I mean they got Hammer, Katoa, the Police,
Katoa's
the
huge,
Bromwich
yeah.
boys.
You know, you spoke about Scott Drinkwater.
Yeah.
Why they should go? Perth should try and get Scott Drinkwater. Just give him a mill. Give him a mill. Blow Dragons out of the water. If the
The
Cowboys
only
have
issue
to,
there is I think they've signed Nick Meaney to play fullback and told him he'll be the fullback.
well, Nick
Well,
Meaney.
it's what
understand
a club's never changed.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand.
Also, in full due
You're
respect,
too honourable, Reedy.
Nick Meaney.
He's not about playing.
Yeah,
Nick
but it's
Meaney.
Nick
He's a good
Meaney.
player.
It's not Hammer.
No. I don't look. I think they've had a lash at Jackson Purdue. I think they've asked the question during Buller as well, actually, and I think they've been told no. I think Purdue said no. You know, the Drinkwater thing, I saw Scott Drinkwater on 360 last night say no one has spoken to him about next year, about potentially leaving.
Is he actually off now?
He's not. He's got another year to go. But we're all hearing these suggestions that now they've re-signed or about to re-sign Jackson Purdue. They're not
As a
playing
fullback,
and Drinkwater might become available. But they won't be the only clay. Like, the Dragons are mad if they don't have a lash at Scotty Drinkwater.
Aren't they the ones who are most strongly linked with him at the moment?
So he'll have plenty of interest if he hits the market. I mean, if Buller leaves the Tigers, maybe the Tigers have a lash. I know Benji distanced the club from him the other day, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I think Benji likes Drinkwater as a player. I mean, I'm not saying that he's trying to sign him, but I think he likes him as a player.
I think it's most likely they take up the option on Buller, but if they don't, I imagine they'll be in the market for Drinkwater as well, potentially.
Can I ask you quickly, is that a good option to take up, like, for the money, like for Buller?
Well, it buys you another 12 months, Danny. That's the only thing.
You'd want an extension, though, as part of it, wouldn't you?
Well, they're trying to extend him, but I don't think at the moment they've been able to agree to a deal.
Right.
And, you know, where you're going to get a fullback of Jareen Buller's ilk, maybe Drinkwater, right, potentially. But other than him, where you're going to get a fullback of that class, the options at 900, you're not going to get many better than him that are on the market without having to pay that sort of money. So I'd imagine they'll take the option up if they can't do the extension. But we'll know soon. What have we got? It's about 5 weeks away, the option, I think.
We might have an
How many
option for
yards
you
gonna
for
be there?
next Wednesday as well. You might want to pick up your option to do next Wednesday as well because you've been fantastic.
Poor old
mate.
Pengilly. What are you
You've been fantastic.
You're
Pengilly will be back. He'll be back, Pengilly. He'll be back next Wednesday. But you've done a great job.
What about you getting
today.
him and Danny in the same room together?
I know, it's great. It's two
They
Sunday
go head-to-head
columnists
on
go
Sunday,
head-to-head.
rip into each other on a Sunday, and happy as Larry.
I don't give Buzz would have wanted to come in back in the day. I would have done.
Have you tried to get him
I think
back?
I was banned,
Tried to
wasn't I? Or was I banned? Or was
No,
Buzz,
I think
or Buzz banned?
Yeah, I
or-
think people were banned from coming on
Oh,
with you
yeah.
at one point. Yeah,
so
but that's
there-
gone.
Don't
That's
tell
gone.
work I'm on here.
No,
Please.
no one watch or listen.
Just blanked my face out. Leave the shirt though. You can see
This
Cody's
man
look.
looks like Brent Reed.
Sounds
He's
like
actually
Brent
a dentist.
Great show, boys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.